how did we get here? How did we get to nobody caring about Bitcoin right now?
Number go down. I mean, number go down is just it's the vibe killer. So we're here to do some vibe engineering, right? Help people understand why these things happen. I mean, look, there's a ton of reasons for this current setup. I mean, it takes a while. It took a while for me to like fully process it, but it's pretty clear that there's just a black hole of value going into the AI trade. Everything, literally everything that is not AI is getting sold to just go into the AI trade. It's just an absolute black hole for capital. Now, what that does is obviously Bitcoin pulls down. From my perspective, and the reason why I really gravitate towards Michael's work, my work looks at where do people buy their coins, their cost basis level? Where is the price relative to it? As you can imagine, when a ton of people bought a bunch of coins at 50, 60K in 2024, and then we went to 100, they're feeling great. Vibes are good. People are in the money, right? They've recently bought the dip and they've been strongly rewarded for it. What happens when those people buy at 100, 110, 120, and then the price pulls back down to 60? All those people are underwater. The vibes aren't strong. Their unrealized losses go higher. People have been trying to buy the dip, and it was the dip that just kept on dipping. And you end up in this environment where people are now underwater on their bags. Now, there's a tipping point because every bear market becomes a bull, every bull becomes a bear, right? It's just the way that the cycles go. It's the circle of life. Why do bear markets bottom? They tend to bottom on the exact opposite dynamic to bull market tops. Bull market tops are optimistic, they're exciting, they're high energy, like it feels like there is no ceiling. Bear market floors occur on peak apathy. Nobody cares. And why does this matter? Because in order to imagine the headlines that we've been seeing recently, quantum's going to get used by Jane Street to market manipulate Bitcoin to the point where it's going to die. It's just like 1,001 reasons why Bitcoin is dead. Oh, and by the way, Saylor owns a quantum computer and he also wants to kill it. Like, choose your narrative for why Bitcoin is going to zero. There's always a ton of them. The people who are currently owning and buying Bitcoin are not tourists. They're not people who, price can go, like markets can do whatever. They've just got to find their level, right? They've got to find their ultimate clearing price. People spend too much time worrying about the ultimate bottom. But the reality is that you end up with no one left except us, right? Now, when there's only us in the market, it takes a long time to hammer out that floor. It's usually on leaky price. But the downside momentum is gone because the sellers get exhausted. Eventually you run out of people who are going to sell, but you also don't have that many people buying. So you end up in this kind of like equilibrium phase of the vibes are down, the unrealized losses are bad. It feels shit because it doesn't go anywhere, but at the same time, you're also very close to, it is the point of maximum opportunity. And a lot of people get distracted because of the boredom. So that boredom component is a really key element. I look at it from the on-chain side, which is like how people spend and hold their Bitcoin. And then what I think Michael brought in is like, let's look at it from the actual vibes of the people talking on Twitter. So I'll pass over to you, Michael, to add some extra flavor to it.
Yeah, language is a very different thing than on-chain metrics, but like all words that we choose to use are indicative of like emotions hiding beneath the surface. Like there's a ton embedded in language that I don't think people typically understand. Words that you'll subtly use more frequently when you're in certain moods versus others. And I'd always noticed this in previous Bitcoin bear markets, specifically when people argue with each other about increasingly dumb stuff. Like it's happening again right now. And I really wanted to like quantify it and measure it and visualize it. And doing so was really illustrative about like just how pissed off people are right now and how bored people are right now, which is even since James and I did the piece together has been increasingly interesting because like there's a little bit of peak excitement that happens on big dips, but people are getting increasingly angry here afterwards. But the narrative thing that James mentioned too is particularly interesting to me because when markets are down, people are desperately looking for a story. Like humans are like storytelling creatures at their core. There's a reason we talk the way we do about other people and we latch to stories to understand the world. It's like a framework that we use to like understand what's going on out there. And when the market's down like this, people really want a story for why that's happening. When there's like an FTX collapse, there's a really easy story to latch onto. In our present market, that story is much more fragmented and less clear than it has been previously. I am of 100% agreement that the AI thing is a large part of it. One of the more interesting narratives I've looked at was like how frequently AI is talked about over time, specifically among Bitcoiners, and it's up and to the right very consistently. It's really taking a large amount of mind share, but there's also a really interesting element happening right now among like how much algorithms are kind of bucketing us into different groups, and among the Bitcoin community specifically, how fragmented we all are now too. Saylor just did a piece that I've been thinking about where he like buckets Bitcoiners in different groups, and like if you're a big Bitcoin capitalist person, if you're really into the treasury companies, you're in a totally different window to the people that are like building stuff. And it's kind of a weird dynamic in Bitcoin right now where there is these really isolated environments. They're all kind of experiencing different things. So some of the group camaraderie that's happened in like 2022 just is not happening in the same way right now, even though price is in a similar position.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I mean, I experimented a little bit with my Twitter algorithm, and I noticed it because as an Aussie, we recently had a bunch of tax changes, which I won't bore you with the details of. I literally engage. I mean, I wrote a piece on it. It's disastrous, so it pissed me off. So I wrote a piece on it. I was engaging with some of the other folks who were talking about it, and my whole feed instantly just teleported into Australian politics. All Bitcoin disappeared. And I was like, fuck, that was quick. I was like, that's very strange. So then obviously my job is to try and assess markets, right? I've got clients who I'm trying to help understand what's going on. So I went through this exercise of like, I'm going to go and like a couple of bullish posts. And suddenly my feed was full of more posts like that, as well as folks drawing arrows that go to zero. And I was like I'm obviously like, that's just so ridiculous. Of course I want to engage with that. And then I thought, okay, let me try the other one. Left it for a couple of days. I came back, liked a couple of bearish posts. Next thing you know, I've got moon math, right? Moon math all over my screen, arrows, why it's going to $1 million. And then the same every bear flag pointing down at 45K, every single one, just chart after chart after chart. And I was like, this algorithm is utterly cooked. And I've been on this bandwagon for a little while now. I can't remember how long ago, but probably coming up to a year. I made the decision, which I highly recommend, delete Twitter from your phone because it's just bad for you. Deleting it from your phone just removes that whole, and it's addiction, because you want to go and engage with the shit that you think is ridiculous or you agree with, right? Then you're looking for confirmation bias. And I increasingly just go, you know what? It's just such noise. I agree with Michael. There's like this fragmentation. Nostr's probably got part of that as well. I saw Odell's recently come back to X. He's like, I probably shouldn't have left because it's just become a cesspool since. I'm not sure you can fix it, Matt, but all power to you. So I think that's part of the mix. There's been this like fragmentation of like the real Bitcoiners have all put themselves in their own silo. Nostr's great, but there's only like, I actually try to get stuff that isn't Bitcoin. Like I kind of understand what's going on with Bitcoin. I actually want to understand what's going on with the rest of the world. And your FinTwit guys just are not on Nostr, right? And they're not going to Nostr. So my general framework, I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to spend like considerably less time here on X and actually move across and just spend all my time on my own Substack, because then I can actually do the long form. I can put the detailed work in. I can do the thought process. And what I thought was many of the key elements, I thought was really cool with Michael's work was this like inverse oscillation between OGs and plebs. Like the volatility of the mood of people who've been around markets for a little while is much less, and they tend to get optimistic when others are super angry. And to kind of build on that, anger at Mr. Market is a sign of investor immaturity. You cannot blame Mr. Market for your poor performance. You have to blame yourself. The only person who can make decisions in this market, in any market, is you. If you are underperforming or you feel like you're underperforming, do not blame Jane Street. Do not blame the whales. Do not blame Binance. Blame your decisions, because that is literally the only thing you can control. You can't control any of that stuff. Your decisions are the only thing you can control. And the default behavior of most people is to blame someone else for their performance. So that anger is a great way to separate people who are experienced in markets and those who maybe not so much.